All right, let's dive into this explainer on machine learning. It's kind of this hidden engine that's running so much of our world, from what movies we watch to huge breakthroughs in medicine. So, how does it really work? Let's get into it.
Okay, so think about this for a second. How does Netflix, or whatever you use, seem to know exactly what movie you're in the mood for? Or how does your email just magically know what's junk? It's not like there's some person in a back room somewhere making these decisions, right? No way. The real answer, well, it's way more interesting.
The secret sauce here is a huge shift in how we tell computers what to do. See, we used to have to write out these super detailed, step-by-step rules for every single thing. But now, we're building systems that can actually learn from what's happened before. They can spot the patterns all by themselves.
Okay, so what is machine learning, really, at its heart? To really get it, it helps to look at the old way of doing things. Traditional programming, where a human had to think of and write down every single rule.
So in the old days, with traditional programming, a developer would have to write a rule like, okay, if an email has the words free money, then it's spam. It's simple, sure, but it's also kind of fragile. Machine learning flips that whole idea on its head. Instead, we just show the computer a ton of emails that we've already marked as spam or not spam, and we just let it figure out the patterns on its own. It basically writes its own rules, which is pretty amazing.
And that brings us to a pretty neat definition. Machine learning is all about getting computers to do things without us having to spell out every little step. It's like we create this flexible system, we call it a model, and we just feed it a whole bunch of data. The model then kind of tunes itself to get better and better at whatever we've asked it to do, whether that's predicting stock prices or spotting a face in a crowd.
And this, right here, really gets to the heart of what machine learning is all about. The point isn't to find some perfect, flawless law of the universe. It's about making a useful guess about how the world works, a model that can look at what's happened in the past and make some surprisingly good predictions about what's coming next. So how do these machines actually do the learning part? Is it just one thing? Nope, it's not just one method. There are really three main ways, or what you might call paradigms, that cover pretty much everything you'll run into. And getting these three down is super important.
Yeah, this table lays it all out really nicely. First up, you've got supervised learning. Just think of it like studying for a test with flashcards. You've got the question on one side and the right answer on the other. Then you have unsupervised learning. This is more like being a detective thrown into a room full of clues with no instructions. You just have to find the hidden patterns yourself. And last, there's reinforcement learning. This one is exactly like training a dog. You reward good behavior and, well, you don't reward bad behavior. It's all about trial and error.
All right, let's kick things off with the most common one you'll see out there, supervised learning. This is really the workhorse of modern AI. And that teacher analogy, it's the perfect way to think about it.
The magic ingredient here is something called labeled data. So let's say you want to teach a computer to find pictures of cats. What you do is you give it thousands and thousands of photos, and every single one has a label, a tag, that says either cat or not a cat. The algorithm just chews on all that data and starts to learn the patterns. The pointy ears, the whiskers, the tail. Those labels are the right answers that act like a teacher, guiding it along the way.
Now, within this whole learning with the teacher thing, there are two main tasks it can do. First, there's classification. That's all about putting things into buckets. Is this email spam or not spam? Yes or no? Then you've got regression, and that's totally different. It's about predicting a specific number, like what's this house going to sell for? Or how hot will it be tomorrow?
And believe me, this stuff is everywhere. It's how a bank decides if you're a good or bad risk for a loan, how your phone unlocks when it sees your face, how doctors can spot diseases in scans way earlier, and, yep, it's how your voice assistant actually understands what you're saying.
Okay, but what happens when you don't have all those neat little labels? What if there's no answer key? That's where our next type of learning steps in.
Unsupervised learning. This is the detective work we talked about. Basically, the machine gets a giant, messy pile of data with zero labels, and its only job is to just find interesting stuff, find the hidden structure all by itself. The goal here isn't to get a right answer, because there isn't one. It's to discover patterns you didn't even know were there.
And the most common way it does this is through something called clustering. And yeah, it's pretty much what it sounds like. The algorithm sifts through all the data and starts grouping similar things together into little clusters.
And the uses for this are just massive. Think about it. Marketers use this to find different types of customers who behave in similar ways. News websites use it to automatically group all the stories about one big event together. It's even how your computer can squish a huge image file down into a smaller size by grouping similar colors together.
Okay, so we've covered the how. We've seen how these machines can learn, but why does any of this really matter to you? Well, because whether you know it or not, this stuff is already a huge part of your daily life.
Let's run through a few quick examples. That Netflix recommendation we started with, that's a system looking at what you watched, comparing it to millions of other people, and making a really educated guess about what you'll want to watch next.
And a lot of this works totally in the background. That spam filter in your email, that's a classification model that's always learning, always getting better at spotting the difference between a real message and total junk.
But, the ambition here is getting way bigger. Self-driving cars, for instance, are basically using a whole bunch of these models all at once to see the world, to spot people, other cars, and stay in their lane.
It's also working to keep us safe. Ever get one of those fraud alerts from your bank? That happened because a machine learning model knows your typical spending habits, and it just saw something that looked weird.
And finally, it's bringing us closer together. The absolute magic of those apps that can translate a sign in another language just by pointing your phone's camera at it, that's all machine learning, figuring out how to understand and translate language on the fly.
So as you can see, machine learning isn't some far-off science fiction idea anymore. It's right here, right now, and it's a huge part of our world. We've basically built these incredibly powerful tools to learn from all of our data, from all of our behaviors. But that leaves us with one last, really interesting question to think about. As these machines get better and better at learning our patterns, what patterns are they going to end up teaching us about ourselves?